Rubbish. Let's get started. Welcome, everybody. It is Monday. It is a bank holiday Monday here in the UK. So that is obviously something that we need to be aware of. Um, we've obviously got bank holiday here in the UK. We've got bank holiday in Switzerland, and we've got bank holiday in Australia. But markets are pretty much back to normal. It's going to be a little bit slow, London, and then it should hot up. But obviously, we'll go through. We've obviously got. I didn't manage to do a live last night, so I'm going to do one tonight. If I'm honest, I played golf in the morning, and then I had a roast, and I was just well done for. So I like to be, focused. So I will obviously do a nice big live this week. Just obviously leading into what we obviously had a pretty good non-farm payroll, pretty good unemployment on Friday, but obviously there was no liquidity, so not a lot was obviously happening. We've obviously got a bit coming up this week. We've got some GDP for the dollar. We've got the CPI data year on year for the dollar to Friday. And so it's going to be pretty active week, mainly for the dollar. Not a lot else to write home back, if I'm honest. So maybe some PMI for the pound tomorrow. But apart from that, it's yeah, very, very dollar related, related. It does feel like it's either going to be escalation or it's going to be, hopefully some kind of a, ceasefire will be agreed, and obviously markets will chill out. But let's wait and see, obviously, what happens here. Leaning into obviously what we've got here. All right, so where is the dollar? All right, this needs to be the first thing that you are looking at every single morning. All right, well, where is the dollar? Where do I need to be worried, and where could it head to? All right. So if I was to draw on, we're obviously the positives of the dollar is we're trading above 100, right? We know that this is a massive key level for the dollar. I repeat this because obviously I want you guys to understand, it's an important level, and pretty much as long as we're trading above it, we can't be looking to, sell the dollar. All right, it's different if you're, scalper because you're ignoring overall trend. You're ignoring everything. You're just going off of, the obviously lower time frame trend. But obviously, I'm a intraday trader, so I like to obviously trade off of intraday because I feel like that gives me the biggest advantage because it means we can have an overall, look now. Although the dollar is trading above 100, it's very, very messy. All right. If we look at this was Thursday, Friday, Monday. We're trading within this consolidation here. If I draw a cleaner box, we're struggling to break above, struggling to break below. So for anyone who wants to, I would draw this box on. All right, because what is this going to tell you? This means to me, if we're going to sell the dollar, I need to be below here. All right, and then obviously we've broken out, and then potentially heading to the downside. Anything in here, anything above 100, odds are, and obviously we've got to always weigh out the odds. Is odds are that dollar is going to continue to the upside here. Yeah. All right, so that's obviously one thing that I would have, marked out. We've also got obviously our EMAs here, 50 trading above the 200. That's a little extra confidence, a little spice on top to obviously send this a bit higher. All right. Then we've got, yields here. What happened? We had a massive gap here. All right. Everyone's still buying them. Dollar is the dominant denominating currency of this war, and it has pumped, high. All right, so again with yields, you've got to be a bit bullish until probably this area here breaks. We probably need this area here to break to obviously, confirm some kind of a downtrend, which can happen at any time, by the way. No one obviously knows what is going to happen, but this gap is very, very strong. So that's obviously give the dollar even more of a confidence. For those of you who don't know, who are new, the US 10-year yields, that's the big money, all right, flowing into the dollar, because that's the government bonds being bought, all right. Looking at, stocks, if I just move my screen here, up as well. So there's a little bit of appetite there, not too much, but a tiny bit of appetite. So, stocks obviously, yeah, it isn't great, but obviously we should see, although some US companies are finding it hard, we should see, because of the price of the dollar, because it's going to continue. Naturally, US companies, what you're going to buy them in, the dollar, they should increase. And obviously oil has dropped here 1% since open, but obviously remember it gapped open up to 115. It's crazy, the price of it. But yeah, so that's why we're, kind of seeing stocks, potentially rally. The little bit cheaper oil is, the little bit cheaper it is for everyone to run their company. But yeah, so that is obviously that one there. Right. Let's now go through our pairs. So pound tapped into the, zone. I'll put the precision entries in for anyone who wants to play it, safer. I personally like to go a little bit more aggressive, top, middle, bottom. Sometimes I will do precision entries. I did it on Friday. Obviously, wish I hadn't. I wish I'd have gone all in, but yeah, we did it on Friday. But yeah, 9 times out of 10, if I'm pretty happy, I went a bit more conservative this morning. So I enter on the entry of the zone, the middle of the zone, and the top is like my get out of jail clause entry. So, pound happy rejected, euro happy rejected. I didn't have a trigger on this one, so I actually got in a little bit higher, which is brilliant. So yeah, that's obviously running nicely. Aussie again, around break even. Part of the reason why I didn't like Aussie as much as euro and as much as pound was Aussie's kind of trading in a, zone here. So it isn't quite as clean. It's really struggling to break through this area here. All right, you can see here we've come down once, twice, three. There's a whole load of it here. It's tried here. It can't break through. Whereas obviously euro has been breaking. It's a nice trend. So that was that one. Gold here. Just obviously looking for this to come up. We didn't actually, although it looks like we did, we were very, very close here, but it hasn't triggered yet. So I'm gonna eye up some gold trades on the gold copy today, but it might properly start tomorrow. So just to be aware of that. But yeah, gold, I'm not really pushing it too much. I do obviously want this to continue down here and just tap into this area. But yeah, it is kind of trending to the upside. But then we did have this massive downfall last Thursday, and it's kind of trading within that, now. So I don't know if you've noticed, every time it tries to recover, it tumbles massively. So yeah. And then last but not least, USDJPY, we've got the Japan intervention potentially coming. There obviously is lots and lots of talks about this, but basically Japan struggles when the dollar is, so strong, because obviously they buy everything in the dollar. So they can't allow it to be too high. So naturally, obviously, what they do is, it's probably one of the only currencies they control it. So they will buy yen. So yen will buy yen, and probably they will utilize government bonds to do this because obviously Japan have a lot of US government bonds, as do China. So yeah, it's really really interesting times. I'm actually looking forward to watching it. Watching it play out. So there obviously will be a good opportunity, but obviously it's high risk trying to sell it here. But obviously that's where people are going to be looking to capitalize on it, and we've got to try and think, right, what is the market going to try and do? All right. Yes, it's going to push it up higher. All right. But where is it gonna, well, where is it gonna try to, sell it? And obviously, how's it gonna catch everybody out? Because they do want to capture as much money as they can. So obviously, the logical place would be 160. The next logical place will be here. I personally think what might happen is markets might drive higher, and it might be a lot higher to take out all of this money here, and then obviously we'll see a big dump. But obviously that will be uncontrolled. It's always at weird times, very quiet times, So yeah, it'll be interesting to watch that. Right. Um, does anyone have any questions? Any questions at all? Um, Zoom user. Is oil too risky to trade? Not really. I don't think it's risky. I think it's like gold's been these last few, years. The only reason what the only thing that makes it risky is that, like we saw, I think it was beginning of last week, Trump can put out a tweet at any time. All right. And, it can dump the price of oil. Monday, there we go. Trump did a tweet. It was early in the morning, but bang, dump, So we do have to be aware because oil is being controlled by obviously hype, by news, as we all know that there's so much news. My Twitter is popping, so it's all about just making sure that we are aware that at any time it could dump, or it could pump, So it's very, very, news driven. So yeah. Can we set a trigger into the future for that Japan trade? To be honest, what's going to end up happening with yen, if I had to hazard a guess, I actually think it's not going to trigger up around here. I think it's going to trigger about here. And then what will happen at the weirdest time in Asia? It will kind of it'll be so quiet. It could be 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning for us here. It will just happen. All right. And so, but I do think there's going to be a lot of anticipation of it happening in this area here. All right. And then if it breaks above that, it's then well, where are they going to pull the trigger? So yes, there's money to be made there, but I think it might be one just to watch, and obviously anticipate. But yes, if it was me, I'd want to capture all of this liquidity because there's going to be a lot of, sellers here. So let's wait and see what happens. So yeah, the gold copy program is running. We might be running it today, or we might be starting it tomorrow, but I will let you know. So do not worry about that at all. So any questions about the gold copier, drop us a message, and obviously the team will answer. That's no problem at all. Right, I'm gonna end it here. Have a great day, everyone, and yeah, let's smash it. Have a good one, guys. Have a good one.